Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. And as it's the 13th today, I thought that I would cover this video, which is a bit more negative, but an honest video of mine. Anyway, as it's because it's the 13th, I thought I'd cover this. I know it's a bit pessimistic of me, but yeah, I just thought I thought I'd share my honest thoughts as I normally try and do on this channel. Anyway, I try not to waffle too much. I can't think of much else to say in the intro, but here are some of a list of some of the things, some of the many things perhaps that would put me off going to heaven. Like a lot of Christians talk about, I'm looking at it from a Christian-centric point of view, I suppose, but a lot of Christians, and I suppose Muslims and other groups, would talk about heaven and saying it's a great place or whatever. But here are some of the things I would say why I don't think it would be as great, and I hope God proves me wrong. Maybe I should listen to the biblical teaching as like heaven's supposed to be a great place, and if God knows what's best for you and all that kind of thing. And God will make people happy and stuff like that. But yeah, I want to talk about some of my doubts of why I think heaven wouldn't be that great, perhaps. So if I'm sitting back, I just have to rest my back a bit. But anyway, I would like to sit forward a bit more, so maybe you can hear me more clearly. But my back is sometimes a bit sore, so I need to have this backrest. Anywho, so number one, a lot of Christians say like you have to deny yourself and take up the cross and deny who you are, and I think you'd have to change a lot of who you are, like call it sins and things like that, which to me makes me think it's less freer. But I think that anyway, sorry, I hope to come to that. But yeah, I think like it's kind of funny because in business or anything, if I'm interested in achieving something, like a lot of times people say you have to do the work to achieve it. It just doesn't get done. It doesn't happen. Whereas I hear a lot of Christians who say like it seems like I always want to be contrary or I'm a bit rebellious. So like, for instance, if someone says you have to do the work to achieve something, I almost want things to just happen. But when it comes to something like heaven, I think like a lot of Christians say like it's trusting in God and it's not what you actually do. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what a few Christians said, which makes me think like I would rather have something that I've achieved or at least work towards rather than something that's done for me. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, it seems like saying when people talk about if you want to do well in business, nowadays I'm really more interested in like helping developing countries or things like that. But in the past, when I was interested in business, if they say things don't just happen for you, you have to work on it, I sort of was frustrated with that. But at the same time, like when it comes to people saying about heaven, they say God will do it for you or whatever. Well, that's debatable, perhaps, and maybe that's people's interpretation of the Bible. But I think it's like I actually want to be able to achieve something. I also think like, what would you do there all day? Like, what would you do? I'm not the best at taking action. I do like to come up with ideas and things like that. But like, what would you actually? I often wonder what you would actually do, especially because there's not much that you seem to be able to do and all that kind of thing. Although I suppose a lot of Christians would say it's if you love God that much, it's about being with God or whatever. Number two, I suppose it's just my general pessimism as well that makes me think I can't really imagine it being that great. And then I look at the world and I think I don't get how a loving God, kind and loving God, and caring and sharing, I was going to say, could make like, or allow at least something. Some people even say God even causes that something like illnesses or natural disasters or things like that. Again, I suppose I'd have to listen to Christians, to more serious Christians or church-going Christians or whatever, or people who have read the Bible properly, to hear their answers about that. So if they post that in the comments, if any Christians post that in the comments, or maybe even Muslims or other groups talk about what they think about heaven and whether they would look forward to it and where you might disagree with me. It would be interesting to hear what you might disagree with me and say what is good about heaven and all that kind of thing. Number three, as I mentioned in point number one, I would mention number three. I don't think it's as free. Like if there's sins, and people say there's so many rules and laws, even the term sin itself or things like that, so many rules and laws. The Bible has so many rules and laws in it. I think it's not as free as I would like it to be. A lot of Christians say it's free, or truth will set you free, the Son will set you free, and things like that. But to me, my definition of freedom, is way different. Like to me, as I mentioned before in previous videos, like freedom to me means doing whatever you want to do without the fear of reprisal and stroke or repercussion, and stroke or not having to do what you don't want to do without the fear of reprisal and stroke or repercussion. So to me personally, freedom is very different to me than what it would be, than what it is biblically, or I'm sure in other religions as well. Like to me, freedom is being able to do more of what you want to do, and I don't see any country or any place in the world. So even if people like a lot of Muslims might also say, like, to them, heaven is more free, or God lets things be free, or God makes you free, as Christians do. But like my definition, as I say, or based on my two definitions of freedom, are very different. As I say, if there's freedom, there wouldn't be such a thing as sin, or having to worship God, or things like that, or having to do certain things, or like the Ten Commandments. And then there's so many other rules in the Bible as well. Number 4, again, I find God very confusing. Like I say, I don't think it's as free as I would like. And again, for a God who's said to be a God of love and goodness and peace and stuff like that, I think there's so many things that make me think God is not as peaceful as I like. Like people say God gets angry and makes natural disasters and things like that. So I think, like, how good could heaven really be in that sort of thing? And again, I can't really, I suppose my pessimism again, I can't really imagine it being that great. Number 5, I suppose my goals and aims and objectives and things like that would be a bit different. And my views about things, like I can't stand weddings or marriages, monogamy, formal relationships. As I often say, I replace a P for a T and things like that. So I think that yeah, like the rules, I don't know if I should say this, but no fornication or stuff like that, those rules don't really appeal to me very much, and having to worship God or call him Lord or say King or things like that, those are sort of things, again, I find them a bit ironic as well, because if you look at the Bible says, like, be humble, and it says about looking after the poor and things like that, and then at the same time God is supposed to be called Lord or King or things like, which means king, and things like and something like that. So and things like that. Sorry. So that makes me think it's a bit contradictory, perhaps even, to say, like, look after the poor, and at the same time you've got to call Jesus Lord and things like that. Again, they're probably similar things in Islam as well. Number 6, again, going back to like what I would love to achieve, I would love to have achieved those things myself, and things I'm more passionate about, like Italian football, and probably some other things I'm not going to include on this, because I would include that on the adult friendly channel. You could probably work them out, or videos, sorry. But yeah, so I think like Italian football doing well would be like my own personal version of heaven, and probably other things I say that I'm probably not going to mention in these videos specifically, as I haven't made them adult only. Number 7, again, things like Celtic doing well. In a way, those are things I see as more like tangible, and possibly our pessimism, as I say, makes me think that heaven won't be that great. 8, also, like, I think it'd be a bit ironically, again, the Bible says don't be selfish and be down to earth and stuff like that, but I think if so many people are going to suffer and all that, it does make me think, like, how good could it really be, and how it makes me feel like it would be a bit selfish to actually be happy to go to heaven, like love a God that would let so many people suffer, if that makes sense. So yeah, again, my pessimism and my negative thoughts make me think, I hope God proves me wrong, but a large part of me thinks that heaven won't be that great, especially with, as I say, so many rules on, dare I say, I don't know if I should mention this word, but like on sexuality and things like that. Again, like, it makes me feel it's not as free, and I don't feel as positive about it. Number 9, again, my personal heaven would be things like I'd be able to write and keep notebooks everywhere, and like hoard notebooks and things like that if I could. A lot of people talk about changing that sort of thing, but like me personally, if I could get away with doing that, I would do it, but I don't want to get in other people's way. But yeah, so things like writing, or Italian football teams doing well, Celtic FC doing well, and other things, as I say, I probably shouldn't mention here, would be my personal heaven, which would be very different. And number 10, like, again, like people, especially children and people like that, suffering. I suppose you could say we live in an imperfect world, and hopefully in heaven those sorts of things wouldn't happen. And I suppose some Christians say, I heard one Christian say that he believes that anyone who's under 16 would get to heaven, like even like aborted babies or whatever, or go to heaven. So I think some Christians would dispute that, but that was his belief. As someone put it, like, if that's the case, then surely if you kill someone who's under 16, that would do them a favor because they would get to heaven, like if it's supposed to be that great. But he was saying that God doesn't work emotionally, so it's not quite the same. But anyway, I don't know if I'm making much sense. But yeah, these are some of the things that would put me off going to heaven, and I hope God proves me wrong. And it's probably not pessimism. I'd love to hear what you think. Like, do you think heaven would be a great place if you're a Christian or Muslim or any other religion that believes in heaven and stuff like that? Do you think it would be a great place, and why do you think it would be that good? What sort of things would you get to do, or what would make it great? Anywho, I am out. Peace and love.